Welcome to another episode of Living Well with Rentwell. I'm your co-host, TJ Hock. With us today is John Velardi. How are you, John?
Doing well, TJ. How are you?
Good, good. So John he sits in a seat that we call field manager. And I'm excited to talk about this position and what it means and what we do for our clients with on-site visits. We do not, we learned through the mistake of other management companies, we do not call them inspections. They are on-site visits. This is not a home inspection. We are not certified home inspectors. We are touring the property and taking certain notes, which we'll jump into. But John, before we do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've been a field manager working with Rentwell for a little over 5 years now. Um, I'm local to Delaware County, so I've known Rentwell since they opened. I admired from afar, and I knew a couple people that worked there. So when an opportunity presented itself, I jumped all over it and joined the organization. And I really enjoy being the field manager. Basic parts of my responsibility are any type of property visit. I'm either going to complete myself or oversee that it gets done timely and correctly with our field team. So I manage our field team. We're a small team right now, 2 people in the field besides myself, and make sure that once the field visit has been completed, that I'm all the information goes where it needs to go. Um,
Yeah.
that's a basic part of my job, and then support the property managers as much as possible. We make sure that they have different responsibilities for their portfolio, and then the field team supports their entire portfolio. So when we have vacancies or issues or emergency visits, anything that might come up, that I help them get organized. They don't need to just call around. They're going to call me. They're going to contact me, and we're going to make sure that we get to the property as soon as possible.
Yeah. So if we could kind of create a visualization for our org chart, so to speak, you have the GM who runs the office, responsible for the people, the numbers, all that good stuff. And then you have the property manager. They're really behind the computer all day, responsible for the entire portfolio. And then you have field manager, which would be the counterpart to the property manager. And you have the awesome responsibility of you're responsible for everything inside and outside the property.
Correct.
Right. So, that can mean everything from unit turns to the different visits to some fire life safety items. What I'd like to talk about today in particular is the type of on-site visits that we do. What do we do when we're there? And, because I think this is some very cool stuff we do, and I'd like to share it with the listeners and any of our Rentwell clients who are listening to this as well. So
Sure.
this role, field manager, field support, actually started from our 2018-2019 owner survey. So every year we send a survey to our clients. We kind of ask the same questions every year to track progress. And one of them was the feedback came back, we'd like to have more eyes on the properties. And so because of these results, we decided, well, let's launch a field management position, the field support position. Let's get kind of the same fleet of cars out there, have them stocked with certain tools and materials. And so really, John, what you do is you're responsible for the different visits that we do. And that could be the pre-move in. So, we're there before the tenant moves in, document the current condition. We're there for a post-move in inspection. So about 3 or 4 months after the tenant moves in, you're walking through, you're looking at the condition of the property, because we found, and I know you have a lot of stories, and maybe we can get into that, of once they're there for 3 or 4 months, that's pretty much how they're going to, they're comfortable at that point, right? They're living in the property the way that they're going to live in the property. So you're looking for, are there pets that may be living there that aren't in the lease? Maybe more occupants that are there that aren't in the lease. And so that's the post-move in. So we have pre-move in, post-move in. Then we have the lease renewal inspection. So that's about 3 or 4 months prior to the lease expiring. We're at the property again. We're walking through and really just documenting the condition. And that's our opportunity where if there are any damages or things that need to be corrected, we post what's called a cure or quit. which means cure this or you're in breach of your lease. Let's face it, once a tenant moves out, if there are damages above and beyond the security deposit, it can be very challenging to chase them down and get those extra funds. So we do our best to protect our clients by capturing this before we decide to renew or non-renew a lease and get that taken care of. And the other benefit to it as well is if I'm a property manager, they may be paying rent on time every month, but we're not sure the condition of the property. So what you do is you've allowed the property managers and the owners of the properties to make a more educated decision, kind of matching up both the financial and also just the condition of the property.
Correct.
And then you have the move out inspection. You're there, 2-3 days after the tenant moves out, typically.
At the very latest. Yep.
The very latest.
Yep.
And documenting the condition, any fees that may have to be put against the security deposit, and you'll manage the unit turn guys to get the property ready. You'll work with the owners to get it ready. So I would say that we're at a property anywhere between 3 to 4 times a year, depending on where they're at or the tenant is at in their life cycle. And
yep.
I'd love to talk a little bit more about that if you want to share what you do for some of these visits.
Sure. I mean, so I was initially hired really to manage the move outs, right? And unit turns, make sure that these properties get ready and we can get them back on the market as quickly as possible and communicate that with the owner. Like you said, briefly after I started, it was the survey came in and went, all right, well, we need to get to these properties more often. So you just spoke about all that. So really, a lot of these are similar, different reasons we're getting there, but what we're looking for are quite similar. So it's really the conditions of the exterior and the interior is what we're looking for. And at that point, the whys can be answered afterwards. How did we get to this position? Why are we in this position? It's really what is it that we need to do to make it safer, more comfortable for the tenant or for the next tenant, whatever it may be. So I guess as an example for our move out visit, want to make sure I'm prepped, right? I want to make sure I have everything ready. So you said we drive a fleet of cars. We do, and our cars all have basic tools: hammer, screwdriver, backup locks. Rentwell does have their own rental lock system, which is fabulous. It makes life easier on everybody to access the property, to quickly change locks. And then if we encounter any issues, but we also have, if we're not on the rental lock system, we do have the other tools that need it and other materials if we needed to change anything like that. Lock boxes we carry around and all the fire safety and batteries. So every car has that. We require ourselves to carry that around. Restock is needed. No reason to go to a property without those items. With that too, depending on when you're visiting, if it's a move out, it's a potential you might not have electricity. If it's an initial property visit, might not have electricity. So always make sure you have your flashlight, you have your batteries, and a charged flashlight. And the biggest thing too, you're going to be taking your notes. And we're in the age of technology. We're not really writing anything down anymore. So make sure your phone's charged or your tablet's charged. I personally really like my phone. I use the iPhone, and I take all of my notes. And then we also take pictures and videos. So once we get in there, what are we looking for? So we're going to start. One, how are we accessing? Or do our notes of accessing the property match with how we're actually going to get into the property? And with that, then we do a quick. I'd say normally take a walk around the outside first, and you're just looking at your basic landscaping, the conditions of the exterior of the building, whether it's siding or brick. You're looking for gutters. You're looking for downspouts. Is everything connected properly? Do you have them? Exterior lighting. From what you can see of the roof, any fascias or soffits we're looking at, and especially critters can get inside any openings, so we're trying to see as much as we possibly can of the roof. We do that, and then doors, right? How many access points do we have? Storm doors, windows, the exterior of the windows. We're looking for all those items, all the flashing. Flashing. One, how good does the property look? But is the flashing secure? Right? We live in the Northeast, man. We get some windy days, and you don't need things blowing around or blowing off that could cause some trouble. So none of that takes 10 minutes. Go around, you take your notes, and okay, I'm good. Then you do the inside, and assuming we'll talk this visit. Maybe it's a vacant visit, right? They moved out. I like to do a lap first, and what I mean by that is walk through the house one time before I take any pictures um, or any videos. I want to see what's going on, so I'm going to go around the house. I'm going to turn everything on. I'm going to locate the breaker box. I'm going to locate the mechanicals. And just anything jump out at me that I can take a quick mental note or a note for my phone for follow up. Because ultimately, I really like to take videos. I think videos are the best. It gives you a chance to narrate it. You're not only talking to yourself, but you're talking to the end user, which is almost always the owner, right? So the owner wants to trust us, but it makes it a lot easier if they can see it.
Sure.
So pretty much all the main visits we do, we're going to take a video, and then it's pick a starting spot. Normally, I'll start in the back or the basement and just work my way up, especially if it's a bigger house, even just a normal house, 3-bedroom, well, 1.5 bath. That video could become a 20, 25-minute video. So kind of pay attention to what you're doing. You can kind of cut it off at 10 minutes. A spot, maybe you walked up the basement steps and you're at 9 minutes in your video, cut it off and start again. Okay, part 2, I'm in the dining room now. And then what am I looking for? Like I said, all the just every piece of the house, the flooring, the ceiling. So if I'm in the basement, I'm looking at the joists. Does everything look okay? Wires, right? We all know, most houses now have gotten away from the knob and tube, but you have all those cable wires and telephone wires, and some are old and some are new, and no rental license inspection is going to pass if you have wires hanging everywhere. So that's a great chance to note that, to just take care of that, whether it can be removed or just secured to the joists. In the basement, your mechanicals are always down there. So we want to get as much information on those mechanicals if we don't have it already. Your heater specifically, what is powering that heater? What type of heater is it? If you're a forced air heater, we want the filter sizes. And then if you have oil, you would definitely, especially if it's a move out, if it's oil heat, you want to mark where did the tenant leave it, because majority of the time, their lease says wherever they got it at is where they need to leave it at, and it's noted in their lease. So if they got it full and they left it empty, they're responsible for it.
Well, you mentioned filters. Not to interrupt there, but I think
Sure.
the other benefit of this as well is, if our fiduciary responsibility is with the owners, the fact that you're out there, you're capturing filter sizes, you're capturing the assets, meaning
Yep.
the make and model of the microwave, of the refrigerator, of the stove, the oven, all that stuff. The fact that it's getting captured, then when a work order comes through and the property manager takes that call, or the call center takes that call, the intent is to reduce the time between when the call comes through and getting the maintenance handled, because we already know what the refrigerator is, which means we may know what filter we have to order or parts, whatever it may be.
Correct.
And with today's technology, it kind of makes it so easy. Like some of these, the software we just started using, you take a barcode, scan the barcode of the asset, and it kind of documents it for you, which is really neat.
Yeah.
What I'd be curious to hear is so I know when you go through the property, you do share the results with the owner. Are there any non-negotiables that when you go through the property, it's like you're taking care of it right then and there and not really going to ask for permission?
Security, meaning do your doors lock and lock properly. So whatever I need to do to make sure that happens. And then fire safety, they're the non-negotiables. We want to make sure that all fire safety being your smoke detectors, your CO detectors. We carry around combos, so that makes it nice and easy. That just takes care of that issue wherever it needs to be. Change the batteries if it's necessary. So you're going to test. I'm a shorter guy, so I carry around a painting pole. That makes it nice and easy for me. If it's on the ceiling or whatever, I'm always going to be able to reach it. Now, lessons learned. Get tired of jumping or trying to carry around a step ladder, right? I only want to bring a step ladder in if I'm installing a new one, and fire extinguishers, and then with that, anything we need to do just to make sure you're mechanical, right? If I come in and there's a leak, right, and I just need to shut the water off, but if there's still hot water heater, right, we're going to do whatever we need to do just to make that safe and contained. Now we're not going to just go and replace it without speaking to you, but we're going to do whatever it takes just to make that safe. So they're the biggest things that are kind of non-negotiable right? Make sure that the door. So I'm leaving, right? Nobody's there. I need to make sure these doors are locked and secured, no matter what it takes. And then you do want your fire safety in there, because then even if it worst comes to worst, you have the opportunity to, I don't know, react, or your neighbors can react for you if you do have a fire issue. But lots of times too, you have vendors going in. Maybe the owner's using a vendor, their own vendor. I want to make sure the fire safety is all in place. So all of that stuff is just non-negotiable.
Yeah. Any advice for investors who maybe are looking to buy a property for the first time? Just things to look for as they're walking through the property to just keep an eye on.
Yeah, well, that your mechanicals are number one, right? How old is your heater? How are you fueling it? Um, and then your hot water heater, your roof. You always want to get somebody to look at that roof. Um, and then once you're inside the building, you're wondering how much money you're going to need to spend. So flooring is number one once you're inside. What do you have? How long do you think you're going to last? And then when you're in the basement, you're just the age of the house. So you're looking at the joists. Does it just everything look okay? You can look at from the naked eye, right? I can send my wife in to say, okay, how do the joists look downstairs? Right, you'll know pretty quickly. Oh, that doesn't look good. Versus, oh no, okay, everything looks okay. You need to look harder. The more what I always tell our field guys, the more spider webs you see, the harder you need to look at the joists. Right, just how does your flooring looking, and then your appliances and anything with water. Right, they're the things that you want to go really look at. So go run the water. Run them like you want to go, from the basement all the way up to the top upstairs bathroom. Run all the water. Run it longer than 10 seconds, right? Because if there's a leak somewhere, the longer you run it, the more likely you're going to find that leak, right? You can't hide leaks.
Yeah.
Right. So now, maybe somebody patched it, right? And you never know any of that stuff. But if you have an issue, you're going to find that issue pretty quickly. Before you do that, you never know what you're looking at. Open up underneath, right? Especially like the vanities and the kitchen sink, right? Open the cabinets, right? Make sure you actually have plumbing there. You have pipes, right? Because I was at a property actually yesterday, and before I did it, I always open the bottom, and I'm glad I did. I opened the bottom, and there was just no pipes there, right? And there was a bucket, but the bucket was filled to the top. It was a move out, so I saw nowhere in our notes. So this tenant basically was just dealing with it, not handling it. There was no work orders, there was no anything. So we were not aware that this was happening. So it must have happened anywhere from the pre-lease renewal to the time they moved out. So if I would have ran that water, it would have immediately just started overflowing. So I said other things you carry around. Always carry around paper towels, trash bags. You want those in your car as well, because something's going to happen sometime where you're going to be like, man, I'm really glad I have these.
Yeah.
So I do. I have 2 rolls of paper towels, and I have 2 sets of trash bags. I got the big, heavy black ones, and then I got the normal kitchen trash bags. Sometimes the issue's not too bad, and you might be able to even help out a little bit. Some trash left behind, a pre-move-in, everything was done, the place is ready to go, and then we had to send a vendor back for one thing, and that vendor then decided to bring his mud in with him. Right, so actually in my car, and I'm think of these things. We have them all documented. I should have my document in front of me, but I also have a broom and a butler, so I can always just sweep that kind of stuff up. So yeah, I mean, if your house is a mess, we're going to get the cleaner. If it's something simple, we can just take care of that.
Take care of it.
But yeah, back to your original question. They're the things you really want to flooring, and then again, how much money am I going to spend? So run all the water, and then look at your walls. Am I going to have to paint? Right? Especially if it's occupied or there's items there. It's not always easy to see, but you'll just tend to look past what's hanging on the wall. Okay, more than likely, if it's hanging on the wall, there's something that's holding that up that's probably whether you got a little hole that's going to need to be patched, or they got the command strips and not going to take them off right. You're going to peel the paint. So that's kind of stuff you want to look for. And then really all your appliances. What am I going to do? Because especially with that, the more appliances you can supply, the more money you can get in rent, or and you have to, every renter or every owner needs to make sure that they have an oven. So that's something you always want to check as well.
Geez, I'm curious to hear it. I love hearing stories like that. Like, hey, just always open the cabinets first to make sure you've got plumbing. It's like, do you have any other stories off the top of your head of fun things that have happened that just to look for when you're in a property like that?
Like, go slow. That's your best bet too. Don't go rushing. Know that you have the time to do it, because if you're rushing, then you're going to miss those kind of things. Um, Man, put me on the spot for stories. Yeah, I'm not. There's.
Well,
I've,
the one I can think of, which is like kind of a thank God moment, I think shortly after we launched the field manager, field support role, it might have been you or Jeff was at a property, and we had to move out, or they were about to move out. So it might have been a lease renewal inspection. The tenants left the window open. We had heavy rainstorms, and like we had been there, unfortunately it had rained inside the house, but at least we were there immediately.
yeah,
Otherwise, if we weren't doing these kind of inspections, it could have sat there I think it was the lease expiration inspection, because otherwise it would have sat there until, you know, the 3 months later that the tenant was supposed to move out.
yep.
And
Yeah, no, and that's happened. Unfortunately, that's happened more than once. A lot of people just leave the windows open, and that is something when I say I'm doing my lap, I'm checking every single window, um, to want to make sure they open and close properly. They stay open properly. What do they look like? And then I have the ability now to make sure the windows are locked, because I'm now the last person who's visited that property. And windows, that is definitely another item. If you're a potential new owner, go. Don't assume anything with the windows. Go look at all the windows, because even the basic, they just might be missing a lock, and they just never locked it. Okay, well now it's a vacant property, and there's another way that somebody can get inside. So what can you do about it immediately? And that's something you're probably going to assign pretty quickly to get that addressed.
yeah,
But you're right. The more when you're there, if you're not hearing from the tenant, we'll go visit, just to make sure. I'll say 90% of those we show up and, oh yeah, no, I saw your message. Right. Well, we asked you multiple times to answer. Now that's why I'm here. Is everything okay? Great. Can you please contact your property manager? And we did. I mean, sometimes they just move out and they don't tell you. So it might take a little while longer. So we have had those issues where water has come in and ruin that area of the floor, which is unfortunate. But I think just based on our visits and our communication with our tenants, it's definitely improved since I've been here, and just increased. I wouldn't even say improved, just increased, because we've learned our lessons, to make sure we're trying to stay in contact with our tenants, and we know what's going on. But yeah, go ahead.
What about move outs? Are you finding any common themes that when a tenant moves out, like type of repairs that have to happen, common trends?
A common trend, unfortunately, is them not taking all their possessions with them, leaving things behind, which is unfortunate. So that ultimately, I'm not really sure what our property managers always talk to them about, making sure you get it all cleared out. But I guess if they're moving to a place they just don't want it, we're going to charge their security deposit. So that is the biggest thing lately over the last couple of years, is just property left behind. But it's not cheap. It's not only removing it, you're disposing it. And if it's a couch, if it's a bed frame, that stuff's expensive. I mean, just think of, we have so many relationships with clean out people, and even 1-800 got junk, and I mean, none of that stuff is cheap to do. So that's a big one. We continue to share it with our property managers. The property managers tell the next person when move outs are coming up, hey, please know that you'll be charged for this. The other common thing, it's walls. We really try hard. You don't want to have to paint every single time somebody moves in and out, especially if it's an apartment and maybe your lease, it's only a year-long lease or 2 years. You're really hoping to get 3, 4, 5 years out of that paint job. So we really work with good cleaners. So we try to, can we wipe these walls down? Can a magic eraser help this? So we're not getting in there and spending, $400 to paint living room walls, where it could just be part of the overall cleaning, and it was just a $400 total house cleaning. Mm-hmm. So we've been, and sometimes you're taking the check. What will it look like, once we do this? Another flooring. More and more, we're just really recommending, stick with the hardwood, but then supply some throw rugs. Don't assume somebody's going to put throw rugs in. But if you are now going to change your flooring, go with the LVT. It definitely lasts longer. If you have an issue, much easier to just switch out and repair a piece, replace a piece. Much easier to do that than constantly change over carpets. Yeah, your initial cost, carpet is cheaper than LVT, but in the long run, it's definitely not.
Yeah.
So that's something I always recommend. Is just go with the LVT now. And the more you can put it in the house, the better. So they're the things that jump out the most. It's your flooring, it's your painting, it's your cleaning, it's your clean outs. They're the things that are just common to every property, no matter, one studio apartment, 1 bedroom to a, 5 bed, 3 bath. They're the things that always jump out. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, John, I appreciate you sharing some of, what you do on a daily basis. And I know what you didn't say was part of your job is, I'd say, being on call, because the schedule can change so last minute, being flexible, being adaptable. Like, you can have the best laid plan for not just the day, but the week, and it changes, the drop of a hat.
It does. It can be frustrating, but if you're ready for it, right, be ready for when you wake up, know that your schedule can change every single day.
Yeah.
And I actually, that's kind of a part of the job now I enjoy. And finding people, with Jeff and Jess and myself in the field, that is something that we've all realized that we're pretty good at. Okay. You might be slightly frustrated, but it's still part of the job. And as long as you're ready for it, and just, you're going to be in something new every day, and you're probably going to get surprised at least once a day.
Well, we appreciate what you do. Thanks for working hard. And we'll do this again. We'll have another session.
Yeah, this was a little bit easier than I thought it would be. So I'm ready. Now I'll be ready for next time.
Beautiful. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, TJ.
Thank you for listening to Living Well with Rentwell. We hope you loved that episode.
Please be sure to head over to our website at rentwell.com/vision. We're giving away our free program called Vision Through Purposeful Action. If you're a busy person, if you struggle with finding the time and priorities, or if you're experiencing procrastination and overwhelm, this free course will help you with that.
We wish you a blessed day. Thank you for tuning in, and check in later.